If you could go back in time and could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
To stop and smell the roses, enjoy the journey, because it'll be over before you know it. I always tell people, don't be so focused on what you want to be, but be more focused on what you enjoy.
What's the most surprising thing about the mortgage process that even experienced buyers don't know?
It takes 35 to 40 people to close one deal.
Welcome to the Green Country Conversations podcast, the podcast where we hear about the stories and learn about the people that make Northeast Oklahoma truly great. I'm your host, Maverick Pitchford, owner of Bison Ridge Insurance, and today we have on a guest who is a mortgage broker. He has made it his complete mission in life to help families build wealth through real estate. But first, let's take a minute and thank our sponsors.
This is where the sponsored portion of the podcast is supposed to be, but we don't have a sponsor yet. Please help us avoid this awkwardness next time. Please sponsor this podcast. If you're interested, reach out to me, Maverick at bisonridgeinsurance.com.
Today's guest is William Gomez, a top-performing mortgage advisor in Tulsa, Oklahoma, originating from Mexico. William has moved to the U.S. at just 8.5 years old. Over the past 7 years in the mortgage industry, he has helped more than 800 families secure their dream homes, earning recognition as one of the top 1% of loan originators in the nation and one of the top 250 Latino loan originators in the country. Beyond his professional success, William is passionate about his educating first-time homebuyers, guided them to making smart real estate investments. When he's not working, he's a fitness enthusiast, a content creator on social media. William, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on, Maverick.
For sure, man. I'm super excited. Obviously, diving into the content side of it. As you know, I've gotten started on that, and so you're someone who I kind of look up to in that space, and so I appreciate you taking some time and getting started here with us. I think there's going to be a lot of great insight that you provide today for us.
Well, thank you, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I either commented or reached out to you. I was like, man, keep up the good work on there, because consistency is everything on it.
Yeah, man. You actually sent me one of your ice bath videos, which is a great touch, dude. I was like, the way you can couple, doing something miserable, which I assume is miserable, every day with something that, can provide value for someone else is, it's crazy. That's such a good way to couple those together.
Yeah. It's funny. Whenever I make it about somebody else other than myself, it makes it go by a lot faster.
Right.
And I recently lost my voice the week, not last week, but the week before that. And so I couldn't do them while I was in there. And I didn't want to break my streak. I think today was like day 337.
That's amazing.
In a row. So I was like, I know I probably shouldn't get in here because I'm sick, but I was like, I can't break my streak. So I got in there. And even though like I did it for like a little bit shorter of a time because I was like not feeling great, it still was way more miserable whenever I don't have somebody that I'm like talking to, right? And and there's videos that I'll post that will reach millions of people, and this one video that goes out every morning to one person, it really can change. Some of the responses I've gotten have been awesome, so it's been a good little thing.
That's so cool, man. Well, let's get into some icebreaker questions here. Couple just kind of silly ones to get started. If you could trade places with any fictional character for a day, who would it be?
Fictional character. Man, actually, this would be good. Do you watch Suits?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably Harvey.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
That'd be a pretty cool person to be for a day.
That's so cool. So we've recorded 3 of these so far. All 3 of them, the first answer have had something to do with the TV show. All 3 episodes have mentioned Suits. So I said this in the last 2. If you have not watched Suits, I highly recommend watching it. It's a great show to watch.
Wow. Who did the other people say?
Well, one of them was like, if you could live in a TV show for the rest of your life or for a day, what would it be? Suits. And then I can't remember the other one. The other one mentioned Suits as well.
Gotcha.
I think of Suits as one of my favorites of all time. My wife and I actually watched it through COVID, so I think that there's always a little bit of nostalgia when it comes to that because you're locked up and you're watching it all at one time, But man, it's such a good show.
It is.
What's the most unusual food you've ever tried, and would you eat it again?
I would say I've eaten baby octopus, and it was interesting. And I guess I would eat it again. It didn't really
It
taste
wasn't bad.
but it wasn't like something that I was like, I can't wait to have it again, you know? So
Yeah. It's so funny the power of social media thinking of food. You post every time you go to that Chinese restaurant. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
China Cafe.
I
Yeah.
literally want to eat there just because you post that. I'm like,
Dude, yeah.
it seems like it's so good.
I probably have had probably like 10 or more people go out there. It's all the way out in
Really?
Glenpool.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like people think I eat so healthy because of all the fitness that I
Yeah.
do, but dude, I like to eat some good food.
I always think of my grandpa. He wasn't a crazy health guy or anything, but would definitely work out every day. And his thing was, he was like, I work out so I could, eat what I want. That's legitimately
Yeah,
the only reason I work
exactly.
out. So that's
Exactly.
awesome, man. If you could go back in time and could give yourself your younger self, one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh man, this is gonna be really cliche, but it's just to stop and smell the roses, enjoy the journey, because it'll be over before you know it. I've always realized that time, went by pretty fast, but it wasn't truly until I had a kid.
Hmm.
We now have an 18-month-old, and it's flown by like that. And you really see the time go by super fast because they change so much faster than like I've known you for a year or two, and
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like anything has changed, you
Yeah.
know? Um, but, um, but whenever I was in high school, I remember seeing somebody come back to a football game that they had already graduated, and I was so confused of why they came back.
Hmm.
And somebody was like, "That's a super senior,"
Yeah.
and I was like, "I never want to be a super senior." So I was like, "I want to enjoy high school because I'm only going to do it one time." And then so this was my sophomore year, going to senior year. I not even halfway through the year, everybody's like ready to leave. They're like,
Yeah.
I want to leave this place. I was like, I want to enjoy it. And I enjoyed it until the last day, and I never once missed high school. Well, my 20s were different because I got into this business so young that I was
Yeah.
so eager to grow up, and for people not to call me the baby, and for people not to say that, I was inexperienced, all this stuff.
Hmm.
Well, when I turned 30, it was pretty rough for me because like I realized that I didn't enjoy my 20s. I was like
Yeah.
waiting for time to go by faster. So I would just say, enjoy where you're at because you would give, so much to go back to this place. Like where I'm at today, I would give whatever to when I'm 40 to come back to today. So
Yeah. And it's crazy how, like, when you're in those moments, the things at least I'm this way, and I know you're a driven guy and an entrepreneur, so you're probably the same way. Um, the things you're always wanting for, the things your next goals you're working towards, as soon as you get to that, you move on to the next goal. And it's so easy to lose perception of like, oh, I have accomplished this. Oh, I remember the time when all I wanted was this one thing, and now I have it, and I take it for granted. So I
yeah,
think that's great advice. And you know, unfortunately, I'm sure a lot of young people who listen to this won't take it because it's
yeah.
just human nature to do that. But man, it's great advice, and if it falls on your ears and you're a young person coming up, definitely hear what he said and try to implement it on your life. What's the most common misconception people have about getting a mortgage?
About getting a mortgage.
Yeah.
Man, there's a lot of them out there. One of the biggest videos that I've posted that has reached a lot of people has been the biggest myth is that you don't need 20% to buy a house. There's
Right.
a lot of people that still believe that that's the case, that you need 20% to buy a house. You can get into a house as little as 3 to 5%, or sometimes even 0%, depending
Right.
on, what your credit, debt to income, all that stuff looks. So I would say that, and then also credit score, depending on who you're working with. Sometimes they can have more stricter guidelines, which that's really when you're working with like the bigger banks.
Hmm.
But when you're working with most mortgage banks, mortgage shops, not necessarily a broker, but just like a
Hmm.
non-depository, meaning it's just a bank that all they do is mortgages. They don't do any like checking accounts, savings accounts. A lot of those go straight by what the book says, FHA, Freddie, Fannie, all that stuff. And some of these you can get down as low as 500 with a
Wow.
traditional mortgage, not like hard money lending and stuff like that.
Right.
So I would say
That's
down
crazy.
payment and credit score.
Yeah, I mean, those are both two things that I had. Well, the down payment definitely had ideas about, but the mortgage, the credit score, I had no clue about. That's good to know. If you could give one tip to a first time home buyer, what would it be?
I would say ask somebody that's in the industry this question, and if they are somebody that it's somebody that you should work with, meaning like somebody that knows their stuff and knows the industry and is trying to help you out. Ask them this one question: when is the best time to buy a house? And my answer to that, if somebody was to ask me that, is the best time to buy a house was actually 10 years ago. I don't know if you've seen those memes that shows like, I wish I was buying these discounted homes whenever the market crashed back in '08 and '07 instead of being in math class in eighth grade or something.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
The second best time is today if you're pre-approved and if you feel comfortable with the monthly payment, because of course this is why the market crashed like it did back in '07 and '08. People were getting into mortgages they had no business being into, and you can only keep that up for so long. And it gets to a point where you can't make your monthly payment. Well, that's going to get foreclosed on, and that's kind of why all that happened. So because a lot of people are waiting for like the perfect time. We always like to wait for the perfect time for, to do whatever, to get married, to have a kid, to buy a house. But I think it's lack of education that truly steals people. I mean, I bought a house when I was 21 years old. Heck, I wish I would have bought one when I was 19 or 18 and started building more equity. So, yeah.
Yeah, man, that's great advice. That's as someone who hasn't bought a house yet, he's just been fully focused on the business side of things. Hearing you say that as like, hey, dummy, like there's not going to be a perfect time, right? Like you need to just do it. So that's great advice. So something I wanted to kind of get into is how you're helping families build wealth through real estate. So let's first kind of just get started with the mortgage industry in general. What inspired you to get into mortgage? I know you obviously got started young. Were you a 13-year-old saying, man, I want to be a mortgage lender? Or, did it something that, door open, you kind of walked through it? Explain that to me.
I don't think that anybody in the industry, unless your dad or mom was in the industry and you just saw them. I actually just had a top producing loan officer that his dad was a top producing loan officer, and he really was that guy. He was,
that's cool.
When he was a little kid, he was like, I want to do what dad does. And I think that's amazing. But I think most people, whether you're in the real estate side or like realtor side or lending side, I don't think a lot of people kind of grew up kind of like being like, I want to be this, right? Anybody that's even in their like teens or early 20s, I don't think there's very many like 8-year-olds listening to this, right? But,
exactly.
But I always tell people, don't be so focused on what you want to be, but be more focused on what you enjoy. So like at an earlier age, I knew that like in high school, I played 5 sports, and one of my favorite things was doing the fundraisers, which is what everybody else hated. I loved going door to door and selling pecans, selling shirts, selling that gave me like that just drove me. And then little did I know, if I could have identified then like, hey, I want to be in sales, that would have made things a lot easier for me, right? So I would say, man, just like everybody, I fell in this by quote unquote accident. And, it takes me all the way back to whenever I was, I grew up in Mexico. I was born there. My mom had me when she was 17. 2 years after that, she had my little sister. And then 2 years after that, she had my little brother. And, man, when you're a little kid, you don't realize, what the situation is. And what I mean by that is, my mom had to work 3 different jobs just to put food on the table. And that food on the table was just a tortilla, lime and salt. Like that's what we would eat, like tacos with like no protein, nothing. Was there. And, but you don't really know what's going on. And, it wasn't until I was about 5.5 that I remember the specific moment that we went through this plaza that had a bunch of different vendors, some food vendors, some other people selling different things. And there was a specific cart that was selling pizzas by the slice. And I remember asking my mom, and I said, "Hey mom, do you think that I can have, that we can have a piece of pizza?" And she said, "Son, we can't afford that."
Yeah.
And I said, "What if we get one piece and we share it between the four of us?" And she looked at me. She had like a tear come down her eye, and she's like, "Son, we really can't afford that."
Man.
And it was at that moment that I realized like what our situation was, and I truly believe that everything happens for a reason. And so shortly, like 6 months after that, my mom comes up to me and tells me, "Hey, I think I found a way to to get a better situation for all of us." And I was like, "Great, what is it?" She's like, "I found a new job, but it's not here. It's in the United States." And I was like, "Great, like when are we leaving?" Like I didn't even know that the United States was a different country.
Right.
And she's like, I need you to stay back with your aunt and uncle and your brother and sister, and I'll be back in 6 months.
Man.
6 months go by. My mom's still not back, and I asked her, when are you coming back? And she's like, "I think I can bring you guys here." I said, "Great. When can we see you?" She's like, "I just need to I need you to give me a little more time so I can save money." And this time she didn't give me a time frame, and it wasn't until like 2.5 years later that I got to see my mom for the first time.
Wow, that's crazy.
Now me having a son, I know like how hard it is. I just went through being away from him for a week, and it was crazy. Like it was one of the best days getting to see her when I finally got to see her, but one of my worst days because I had to see my little brother not recognize his own mom, and he didn't want to be around her for the next, couple of weeks. Well, it was because of that there was always this drive inside of me of I wanted to be the best that I could at whatever I was doing, including like school. Like I hated school, but I was in high school. I was in all this advanced placement classes because I was giving it my all, even though I didn't enjoy it. One of my favorite quotes is, "Discipline is doing things that you hate, but doing them like you love them." And that's truly been me since I was a little kid, like doing things that I didn't like, but doing them with joy, saying I get to do this, not I have to do this. And I was like that through every job that I had. And then I remember when I was finishing school, I got an opportunity for a part-time teller job at a bank. And I went ahead and got that. I thought it was just going to be a seasonal job. And then my branch manager was like, he was like the senior vice president branch manager, like banks love titles and stuff. And he was like, "Hey, whenever I started, I was doing what you were doing, a part-time teller."
Yeah.
And I was like, "How did you get to where you're at?" He said, "If you know how to sell, you're going to, you're going to get promoted." And I said, "Sell what? Like, what do you sell at a bank?" He said, "Anybody that doesn't have a savings account, sell them a savings account, whether you're helping them deposit money or withdraw money." So my first day, he told me that I sold like 73 or 78 savings accounts. And I was just like,
crazy.
I had that feeling of like, oh my gosh, like this is awesome. Like
It's going back to that door-to-door sales like you were talking about.
and then so like everything after that, I would be like, what's next? And then I remember when he pitched to me a credit card, he's like, "Do you know what a credit card is?" I said, "Yeah, it's like a card that you used to buy stuff and it takes money out of your account." He goes, "No, that's a debit card." He's like, "Do you know what a credit card is?" And I was like, I guess I don't know. And then he tells me what it is. Then I start pitching it to people. There's this lady that comes up, and she is withdrawing some money. And I'm kind of making small talk with her, just chomping at the bit to pitch this credit card. And I give her money. I tell her we have the 0% interest for 18 months, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, "That would actually really help me." And I said, "Great." And I felt like I made the sell. I'm like doing the application, and I'm really talking to her, getting to know her, and get to know that she's a single mom of 3 kids and is really struggling. And I literally start seeing like my mom right in front of me. Mm-hmm. We get to the end of the application. I click submit, and gets declined. And I'm just like, oh, I don't have the guts to tell her. And I literally acted like the computer was like frozen or something. Can you give me a second?
Yeah.
And then I go and talk to my manager, tell him what happened. First question was, "Does she own a home?" And I said, yes, she does, because that was the first question. It was like, do you own or do you rent?
Yeah.
And then he said, does she have any equity? And I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
And then he comes over, talks with her. 3 weeks later, we're able to help her. We're able to help her do a home equity loan, pay off all her debt, and then give her enough money for the next like 6 to 8 months or something like
Wow.
that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
She like gives me this like hug, and she's like, thank you so much. She's like, you have no idea how much you've helped my family. And but all I could think about was, what if my mom would have owned a home? Would she had enough equity to not have to
Yeah.
leave us for 2.5 years?
Wow.
And man, after that, every person I spoke with, well, whether I was selling them a savings account, an auto loan, a credit card, I would always ask, do you own a home? And if they didn't, I would walk them over to our mortgage banker, because I was like, like, if you don't own a home, you have no idea
Yeah.
how much wealth you are missing out on.
Right.
And I share those two stories with you because it was at that time that I knew what I wanted to be. Like I was like, I want to be a loan officer, and I want to help every person that I can start their journey to wealth, through generational wealth, through real estate. And man, I feel like that's been the biggest reason of why I've been able to accomplish what I've accomplished, is because I knew exactly when I wanted to do this, and I knew why I wanted to do it. And a lot of people don't know why they're doing what they do.
That's amazing, man. I've known you, like you said, for a couple years now, but never heard that full story. And I think that it just shows to, they talk about all the time, like you said, the why. Your why can push you through so much adversity, right? I'm sure there's times where you've had, things that have been difficult in your career, and when you have that why, and a why that is as special to you as your why is, then it's like, I'm going to get through whatever I have to get through, because it's my driving force. So that's amazing, and that's a great story.
100%. Yeah, one of my favorite books is The Compound Effect. Mm-hmm. Darren Hardy, and there's a chapter in that book that talks about, hey, if I was to put a like a 4x4, like piece of wood, and I said, hey, if you walk across that, and I just put it on the ground, if you walk across that, I'll give you $20. Would you do it? Most people would say yes, of course. Okay, now what if I put that across two buildings, and the other building that the $20 is at is on fire? Would you do that?
Yeah.
Everybody would say no.
Yeah.
What if in that burning building there was your son or your daughter there?
Right.
At that point, you wouldn't even need the $20. You would just do it to do whatever you have in you to save your son or your daughter or your family member. And that's the biggest difference, is so many people are expecting $20 across the way whenever they're walking, but they want it as easy as possible. But when you have that why, it doesn't matter how difficult things get, you're still going to go and get it done because you know why you're doing it.
Right, for sure, man. Well, kind of speaking on difficulties and challenges, I would be curious, what are some of the biggest challenges you faced when starting your career in mortgage? You've hinted at a couple already. I'm curious to see kind of what you think it is.
A couple of them were, I thought that I knew 10% of it, and I knew 1% of it.
Right.
When you become a realtor, when you become a lender, there's no training to do this. Mm-hmm. So many people make the mistake that they want to learn it all before they feel confident enough to go talk to people. And I think that that's where a lot of people go wrong, because while you're learning it all, you are missing out on an opportunity where you could be in front of people. And then two, you're truly never going to learn it all. Like, I've been doing this now for 7 years, and there's still so much left to learn. But there's like excuses that people use, and that's one of them, right? So for me, it was just truly not knowing it all, but really dumbing it down. If I had to tell a 7-year-old what I did for a living, what would that be? That is I help people get loans so they can buy houses. So I could explain it to myself. So that's what I did. I started calling people. And then the other thing would be probably, I was like 23 when I started. feeling like a little insecurity of people saying like, whoa, how old is he? How long has he been in the business?
Yeah.
But that was, at the end of the day, all in my own head. I feel like I could have even done better and bigger things if I wouldn't have been insecure about that.
Yeah, man, that age thing is, I mean, it resonates completely with me. When I started my career, I started this agency at 24, and I'll never forget cold calling a guy the first maybe month into the agency, and he specifically said, he let me give him my pitch, super nice guy, old country guy, and he said, young man, I'm going to ask you one question. He said, why would I switch to a guy that I've had insurance with the agent I'm with currently longer than you've been alive? And you're like, man, that's a kick to the face. Let's get off this call and move to the next one. And you learn how to deal with that. You learn how to move on. And you learn that a lot of times there's that one situation I gave, but all these other people I talk to, as long as you go out and a lot of times I was the guy that, hey, I don't know all the answers, but I'm going to go find the answer for you. I have all these people around me that I truly trust, and they're going to help me get it. So I think that not letting that hold you back is a really big thing.
Yeah, and I think the last thing I'll add to that is that one of the biggest mistakes I made was not telling people that I was new, because you telling me that story is, I use that now, even though I'm 7 years in. I tell people now that I'm new, because when you tell people that you're new, you don't have to tell them that you're hungry for their business. You don't have to tell them that you'll answer the phone after hours, that you'll work on the weekends, right? Mm-hmm. Now I'm blessed enough to have a team that's able to help me with that, but I'm available. Like we're available for people, agents, for home buyers. Here's the biggest thing though. People will 100% know that you're not complacent. You're not in a complacent place in life because you're new. Right? Because like what I would have said to that guy is saying like, that's a great question. And my answer to that is that you 100% can trust that I'm not, and I'm not saying that your current insurance agent is complacent, but I guarantee you that he or she has so many customers that they're not probably taking the time that I have to dig deep and see what discounts I can get you every single year, right? And that's the thing that people shy away from. They're like, I don't want to tell people that I'm new because like it's going to hurt me. It actually can help you.
Yeah, it can truly be a superpower on those things because, like you said, after I got off that call, I was like, I need to figure out something to say if that comes up again. And that's exactly what it comes to. Hey, you're not going to find anyone that's going to be more dedicated to you because, like you said, I don't know your current agent, but I can guarantee you the agent that's been, having a book for 25 years, he's not working as hard for every client as I am. Just pure number wise, nothing against the guy, just pure numbers wise, right?
Yeah. And this guy's collecting a check every month because he's built that business. Like, be like, I want to get there. I want to get there where I'm collecting a check every month, but I'm not there right now. So I know that I know for a fact I can give you better service.
Right, exactly. I'm excited to get into this next portion. We're going to talk about social media and personal branding. Like I said, you're one of the guys that pops off the screen when I think about this stuff. So maybe briefly explain how your presence on social media has helped you connect with clients and how it's helped you grow your business.
Yeah, man. So the biggest thing for me is personal brand is something that it's not an option anymore. If you truly want to be one of the top 1%ers, if you want to be at the top of your game in your industry, just like making calls, writing thank you notes, meeting people, going to networking events, that's something that like, it's like a given. Like if you want to be successful in this industry, and I'm talking about across everywhere, you have to do, there's those like non-negotiables that you have to do to get the business. It's 2020, about to be 2025.
Right.
That's going to be a non-negotiable. And you got to remember that people will do business with you because they know you, they like you, and they trust you. The first one is that they know you, right? If I'm in, like right now, if I said, hey, forget mortgages, I am going to be an insurance agent now.
Yeah.
More people will know that I'm an insurance agent than an insurance agent that's not on social media at all.
Yeah, right.
And guess what? That insurance agent, like let's just say you and I, Maverick, you're a lot better at insurance than I am, especially if today I say I'm an insurance agent, right? It's just a title. It's like everybody knows what they do. A smaller circle knows how to do it, and only the top performers know why they do it.
Right.
So but more people are going to come to me rather than somebody that actually knows what they're doing because they know me, right? So doing social media will get you into rooms that you'll never be in, and it'll get people to know you, like you, and trust you before they ever meet you. And after they meet you, they'll keep knowing you, they'll keep liking you, and they'll keep trusting you. And that's where the business is made right there.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I say all the time that it's my like number one job criteria that I have to check off every day is I want every single person to know when they think or hear of Maverick Pitchford, they know I sell insurance. That may mean they never call me, but when you see me at the grocery store as we walk past each other, I want you to look at your husband and say, "Oh, that's the insurance guy." You know what I mean? Because that means that I've done my job in making sure you know who I am and what I do.
100%.
So, what has been your most popular piece of content, and why do you think it resonated so much with audiences?
Man, I've had a couple of them short form wise. It's been one of the biggest ones. I think it got like almost 10 mil across all platforms. And it was, how much house can I buy for $17,000?
Yeah.
And it was pretty much a way to grab somebody's attention of telling them, hey, if you want to buy, I believe it was like a $350,000 home, using an FHA loan, you only need 3.5% down payment. And if you ask for the seller to pay for your closing costs, that's all you need. So for $17,500, you can buy a $350,000 home, something like that.
That's amazing.
And first of all, it had a great hook. So people are like curious. They're like, what can $17,000 buy me, right? And then as I'm like telling them, they're figuring out like, wait, you only need 3.5%. I thought you needed 10%. I thought you need 20. I thought you needed 40%. And then people are like, wait, the seller can pay your closing costs? So it's like in one video, I was able to like unload a lot of different golden nuggets that people are like, whoa, like this home ownership might be something that I can do.
Right.
The other couple that I can think of is the biggest myth in real estate, which is that you need 20% down. That's super, super basic. Anybody out there, like Maverick, you gotta remember that like I could be an insurance agent for a week and I could still not know, like I could know like 1% of what you know.
Yeah.
But I can still put out content because in that 1 week being an insurance agent, I'll know way more than 99% of the people out there because they don't know anything about insurance.
Yeah, you never know what you don't know.
So there's so many new people that come into the industry and my line of work, and they say, well, I'm not an expert. Like, I don't know what to tell people. Well, what's the minimum down payment? Do you know that? Yes. Okay. Well, you know more than 99% of the people out there. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So those are just a couple that pop off. I mean, I posted a lot of videos. So, and some of them have done really well, but those are a couple of the ones I can think of.
That's amazing, man. You've already kind of touched on it. I mean, we both, I think, agree that the fact that social media is not something you can negotiate anymore. You have to do it, right? If you want your business to be successful. So what advice would you give to professionals that are getting started with social media?
Whatever it is that you do, just be consistent. You can start off with testing out 2 to 3 different things that you want to do. To figure out one, what you feel the most comfortable with. Like I saw that you kind of started finding your niche a little bit. Yeah. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing those videos. Yeah. But that's just who I am. Right. So if I did those videos, I would feel forced, have right? As success as you have because I'm kind of forcing it. And that's what I see a lot of people. I've taught so many classes to agents that want to get started and they just try to like mimic what I do, but they feel so uncomfortable doing like talking head videos that it's never going to work for them. Yeah. Test out a couple of things for 2 things, for you to know what you like to do. And then 2, to see what is working, because a lot of the times you'll be doing something. It's like that quote. It's like winners never quit and quitters never win. I actually disagree with that quote because I truly believe that there's a lot of people out there that, like before I started my personal brand, I was paying a girl and she was taking care of my social media. That was her full-time job. And I was like, hey, I'm paying her. Like there's no reason that we shouldn't win on this, right? Right. Well, if I was still paying her to this day, I still would have probably under 1,000 followers in that business account and never been able to reach the people that I've reached. If I wouldn't have quit that, I wouldn't have won at what I'm winning at right now, right?
Right,
so
exactly.
So not just because you like say I like dancing TikTok videos, and I enjoy them, and you post them all the time, and they're always getting 100 views or whatever, like that doesn't mean that you should keep doing them, because if they're not taken, if none of them have gone over 100 views, maybe you got to try something else, right?
Right.
So
exactly.
whatever it is that you try though, and then if you do that for 90 days to 180 days, whatever's working, that's what I would pick. Because like people forget that like if you're wanting to grow an audience, you have to give people what they came to your page for. So if I don't know who Maverick is and I'm scrolling and I find your video, funny and educational, and then I go to your page and then it's like a bunch of like other stuff, I'm going to just leave the page and keep scrolling.
Right.
As opposed to like if I see other videos that they're making me laugh and they're educating me about insurance, I'm like, I don't know who this Maverick guy is, but I'm going to follow him because he's adding value to me there. And then the biggest thing is be consistent. Like I already said it, be consistent. And then here is the big, and I told you this, I think in the video that I sent to you, I said, right now, I'm probably the 10th, 20th, or maybe even third person that has said, good job, Maverick. You're doing good, right? That happened to me. When people are not telling you good job, that means that you're being consistent, and that's when you need to keep doing it the most.
Yeah.
So make sure that you're consistent, because if you're not consistent, it's like going to the gym. You could be like right now, the thing that I've done over the last almost 3 years, I started in March of 2022. If I was to take off a month, I could literally lose everything that I gained over the last 2.5 years.
Yeah, I mean that's amazing advice. The portion that you left in the video for me about being consistent to a point where people aren't congratulating you. I mean that spoke volumes to me, because it's like, yeah, it's fun to get the pat on the backs, but like you're saying, consistency is the key, and you want to get to the point where people are like, oh, that's just what he does. I don't need to say anything to him about it. So that's great advice. So now some more like fun, kind of lighthearted industry questions. If you could create one dream mortgage, who would play you in the mortgage commercial?
If I could play one dream mortgage,
if you could create a commercial for your mortgage company, and let's say you had the biggest budget in the world, right? A+ stars, whoever you want. Who do you think would play you in the movie or the commercial? Let's say.
This is pretty easy because I feel like people say that I look like him a lot. It would probably be Mario Lopez.
As I asked the question, I looked at you and I was like, he has to say Mario Lopez. Like, yeah, I feel like he has to say that.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd probably be an easy one.
That's funny. And then what's the most surprising thing about the mortgage process that even experienced buyers don't know? So what's something that maybe someone who's bought they're on their fourth home, but what's something that they could be surprised by in the process?
I'll give you 3. The top 3 things that even experienced buyers don't know are: 1, it takes 35 to 40 people to close one deal. And the biggest people that you're going to be seeing often is your real estate agent and your loan officer, or at least talking to them quite a bit. So those are the 2 big key players that you need to make sure that are really good out of the 35 to 40 people. Because if they're not, that's why if you go right now and Google what are the top most stressful things to go through in life, number 1 is the death of a loved one. Number 2 is going through a divorce. And number 3 is buying a home. And the reason it's buying a home is because if majority of the people, the 35 to 40 people, are doing their job, but one or both of the main 2 people are the lender and the real estate agent aren't doing their job, your process is most likely going to be stressful.
Right.
2 is that even if you bought a home before, guidelines change all the time, especially whenever there's different things that happen in the world, like COVID-19. I told you that you can do a mortgage as low as 500 credit score with a minimum down of 10%. Well, back then, COVID times, uncertainty, that went up to 620, 640. So things are always changing. It's not like, oh, hey, I bought a home even 2 years ago and, my credit was this, and so it should be the same thing, right? Especially if people bought a long time ago, especially closer to whenever things were a lot different, whenever the 07, 08 market crashed there. And then last but not least is interest rates are either floating or they're locked. What does that mean? It means that if you don't have a contract on a home, you can't lock a rate, meaning that's a floating rate. And a floating rate, rates have changed 4 different times today.
Wow.
So people, a lot of the times, like, think about like yourself, Maverick, or anybody that's listening. You're listening in your car, you're listening in your office, whatever. Think of something that you don't know much about, right? Like for me, for example, cars. I don't know much about cars, mechanic stuff, whatever. So whenever you're going in to take your car to a mechanic shop, you're just thinking of asking, like, I don't know anything about this. So like, so you're going to go in and say the only thing that you know. So you might say, how much is your oil change? That's the only question that I know to ask because I don't know anything about the process. So many people don't know anything about the process that the only thing that they know is interest rate. I got to get the best deal. So like, what's your rate? And then they'll go to somebody at 9 a.m. and get a rate. And then they'll talk to somebody, and that's on a Monday. They talk to somebody on a Wednesday at 2 p.m. And they're like, oh, this person has way higher rates or this person has way lower rates. And guess what? This person doesn't even have a contract. Yeah. So therefore, like, if you don't have a trusted advisor that's explaining these things to you, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. So those are the top 3 things right there.
That's amazing. What a great answer. So now we're going to get into our final 2 questions, the ones we ask every episode, kind of the name of the podcast, right? Green Country Conversations. I love this area. I've lived in this area my whole life. I know you obviously have been here quite a while. And so kind of curious, what does your perfect day look like in Green Country?
My perfect day is probably starting off with starting off with a workout. I would say we have a lot of great CrossFit gyms here. I personally go to CrossFit Jinx, which is pretty much, right outside of Tulsa there. That's awesome. Probably then going to a brunch place. My top 3 brunch places are probably Red Rock, which is only available on Sundays, Bramble, and Neighborhood Jam. So,
both those, I've been to both those.
Probably maybe get a little dessert afterwards, go to like Antoinette's and get like a little cookie with some milk. People judge me all the time because I always ask for milk when I eat my sweets, but like, dude, I am who I am.
You got to have it. You got to have it.
And then probably wrap up and grab some dinner at like a Mexican restaurant downtown or depending on how I'm feeling, maybe just go to like a food truck or something down and by like Little Mexico and just grab some. I love me some Mexican food there.
Man, so great day. That sounds like a great day.
It started with working out, and then I spent all the calories I burnt. Right. So
right. Exactly. That's the whole reason for working out. And then lastly, what is a hidden gem that most people don't know about, or that you'd love to shout out and give some more attention to in Green Country?
Man, I probably have to go with China Cafe.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people don't know about that place, and I love Chinese food, and that's probably my favorite Chinese place. They have this thing called bourbon chicken, and it's so good, dude. I don't think there's another place that has it. So,
well, you've got me almost driving from Coweta to Glenpool just to eat
I would
there,
not
so.
recommend eating there, though.
Okay, take it to go.
Yeah, take it to go 100% and they're closed Sundays and Mondays. Problem is, I have no affiliation with this place at all.
you know I'm like the back of your hand, my guy.
Yeah, but yeah, if you go in and eat there, it's probably gonna ruin it for you because the environment is not very great. And
it's like out of sight, out of mind. You want to get the food and then just forget about it. Like,
and actually, how I heard about it is Travis Meyer.
Oh, really?
He said that's one of his favorite places, and he said he gets the Chinese fajitas. I've never had it. I went to lunch here with the guy. He got it, and I don't know. I mean, maybe to some people they might like it, but I like my bourbon chicken. That's what
yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, William, I appreciate you coming on, man. Give the people, one last kind of leaving piece of advice that you would give any, first-time home buyer, someone that's maybe kind of on the fence. What's something that you would give them as a piece of advice before we leave here?
So anybody that's listening, I feel like I've already given a lot of different things that my challenge for you in order for me and Maverick not to waste your time that we've been here is just pick one thing and forget about everything else. Because if you don't do that, you're going to forget about everything. Pick one thing and do that one thing in order for us to be able to have added value to you this last 30, 40 minutes, however long it's been. But the last thing, if you kind of already forgot everything that you've listened, I would say if you are currently not a homeowner, I would tell you to look at your situation to see if where the situation's at, because a lot of people, and I see this all the time, it just happened. I had a random couple reach out to me through Instagram from Edmond, Oklahoma, says, I watch all your videos, and we watch this one specific one, and we're self-employed, so we think that we might not be ready, but we just wanted to talk with you. Can we jump on a Zoom call with you? And then so we did, and then got an app after that, got their docs. We're like, you guys are approved. Like, you don't even have to wait till next year. Within 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks, they were under contract for a $790,000 home or something like that.
Wow. And they thought they wouldn't even get approved. That's amazing.
And then so I see that more and more again from anywhere. Like, these people were like 800 credit scores, had a lot of money in the bank, doing well for themselves. So people would be like, that doesn't make sense. But I see that from people would think of that more of people that are like, my credit score's not that high, I don't have that much money in the bank, whatever. I see it from all walks of life. People wait too long. And I'll give you this last personal example for you, is that I bought my first home in August of 2016, and it's a home in South Tulsa, and I bought it for $143,000. I still own that home to this day. Have it as a rental, and we're able to hold it, not do anything to it. The only thing we did to it was we added granite countertops to the kitchen. Spent like $3,000 on that. If I was to sell that home today, pretty much exactly how I bought it, that home would go for today for like $255,000, $260,000.
That's amazing.
So somebody that it's in the same boat as me when they were 21, and they were like, oh man, maybe I'm not ready. Like, I was like that. Like, my manager, my mentor at the time was like, you need to at least apply to see where you're at. And I was shocked whenever I got approved. I was like, wait, what? Like, I can.
Yeah.
And then, but there's somebody that was in the same situation that still hasn't owned a home, and they could have bought that home for less than $100,000 than, what it is now. So
yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing, man. Well, let the people know where they can find you on socials. Give your social media a shout out, and we'll get off here.
Yes, sir. Just Will Gomez 23 on all platforms, Facebook, Threads, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, everything. I'm sure they just type in William Gomez that they'll be able to find me.
You'll pop up.
Yeah.
Well, William, I appreciate the time, man. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Green Country Conversations is going to come back to you next week, and we'll get to you then. Thanks so much, man.